we have finally reached the weekend, we are bringing on the master of teaching how to launch subscriptions to kick it off. We're traveling from Tampa to Utah to sit down with the founder of QPilot.cloud, Matthew Holman. His perspective reaches across the spectrum from marketing to operations to shipping. He's worked directly with hundreds of brands to transform their acquisition, shipping, and subscriptions. He understands the balance that must be struck when developing a successful business and making choices about how resources should be allocated. His special skill is looking at the big picture and distilling down the steps that should be taken for success. At his core, he is a problem solver. His message with QPilot to e-commerce companies is stop struggling with subscription software. There is a software that can automate everything to deliver products for your repeat customers. You deserve a dynamic and seamless solution so you can offer the best service to your repeat customers. And I love that. We're going to learn so much today. If you struggle with how to manage subscriptions, this is the show for you. We're also going to dive into an awesome show at the Spotlight Story today. At the halfway point, we're going to look at an article titled Tech Talent Tectonics, 5 Benefits of Subscription Business Model, and then get his take on it. But Matthew, let's kick this show off, man. What led you to entrepreneurship?
Oh man, I mean, that's a really long story, but really comes down to just wanting to be able to have the life I want to have and be create. I think there's no other place that gives you the opportunity to create and build and change lives than you can with entrepreneurship.
This segment is sponsored by Bedrock Business Builders, a small business startup specialist. Start, build, manage.
We certainly can. You can choose the lives that you want to affect. You've done a great job educating people in this digital era. We talked about this before the show started. I can't wait to learn some new tips for success from today's star entrepreneur. With that, I want to welcome everyone listening on to That Entrepreneur Show. My name is Vincent A. Lancey, and I want to thank you for taking the time to tune in with us today. I mentioned we're going all the way to Utah for a good reason. He's at the top of his field, and he's considered the master of teaching how to launch subscriptions. I think this is going to be a very valuable show for everyone tuning in today. But as we are kicking it off, let's share some of your greatest lessons learned in entrepreneurship, Matthew.
Totally. I think one of the biggest in entrepreneurship, there's so many people out there telling you what you should and shouldn't do. I think one of my biggest lessons is learning to not listen as much and to go and do more, and then start to realize what actually is good advice or not. For me, a few years ago, I took this plunge, I took this new job, and I moved into an apartment that was too expensive for me, with this idea of you get taught by this hustle culture. If you create this huge responsibility, you're going to just live up to it. And all it did was extra stress, because now I had to worry about paying this bigger bill, and it made it so that my quality of life went down a lot more. So that advice, just pushing yourself and making yourself go do more, I think is pretty stupid. So I think it's really all about, you have to find what works for you. I'm a runner. I love running. And, we get this metaphor out there, you just push and you can run the 100 miles. It's like, no, it's actually learning about what your body can do, what your mind can do, what you're good at, what you love to do. I think that's the biggest lesson in entrepreneurship, is figuring out what works for you and what you can bring to the table.
I love how you're starting the show out with that. What works for some doesn't work for everyone. Excuse me. There is something that works well for you, and running supplements his business endeavors. I am the same way with exercise. That's something that I need for my business. It's something that helps me think clearly, not overthink things, and act more efficiently. I really love that. So are you running indoors during the winter, or are you enjoying that cold, brisk snow?
I hate tread, man. So yeah, I find places where sometimes those mornings are slow slog, try not to fall over. But 10, 15 degree runs, their own kind of appeal, just because they're invigorating in a different way. But yeah.
I love that.
I love the inspiration. It'll kill me. Yeah.
Well, keep on doing you. You're doing great work, and I can't wait to hear this next response from you. When we're thinking about QPilot, people that have never heard of the company, let's talk all about it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think most people think of subscriptions. They actually have kind of a negative response. Think about how you kind of get locked in. You're going to forget you're too much product. There's a lot of these kind of common issues. And so QPilot is built to be more flexible and easy for the end consumer. But in order to make that easy, there's all these operational constraints, like understanding how much shipping is involved and your inventory. And so we built a platform, and what that lets our customers do, their customers, their subscribers, a really flexible program where they can have all this control. So for a lot of brands that are kind of setting and forgetting at subscriptions, we're kind of overkill. But for any brand out there who's trying to get a little bit more control and flexibility, we think that drives, well, we have the data to support it, drives a lot higher LTV. So we like making that kind of flex possible on great subscription programs.
I love that. I can't wait to learn more because I've been on the fence about trying to grow my brand, grow my business with some kind of subscription idea. While we're on the topic, let's plug you real quick. Where can everybody find your company?
Go to QPilot. That's the letter Q and then pilot.com. And that's a great place to kind of go and start learning more about what we're doing.
Thank you for sharing that, everyone. Right after this episode ends, be sure to head right to that website. We will touch on it again at the end of the show. But before we dive into this week's Spotlight story, I want to help our listeners a little more here, Matthew. What are some of the more challenging areas of being on your own?
Yeah, I think one of the things that makes subscriptions hard is that from a revenue standpoint, it's really motivating because you want to try to build up recurring revenue. And so I think at times it's important to flip your kind of focus. So about how you want to just build up this book of business, you're actually looking for more ways to engage with your customers. So subscriptions are a really great opportunity to give people that are already interested in and or loving your product an opportunity to get it and have it when they want it and on the schedule that they want it. Yes. So if you're thinking about opportunities within your e-commerce business or even service-based businesses, you're thinking about subscription is a really powerful engagement tool. And that's what will give you the ability to unlock growth and revenue by finding more and more ways to engage with your customers.
I love that. Finding ways to engage with their customers, helping it flow on their timeline. I mean, that's got to play all the difference because in a time now, even as COVID taught us many lessons, our time is very limited. We have only so many hours to grind it out. If you're saving them and making it easier for them to succeed, that can go a long way. I'm now excited to hop into this. We're talking about 5 benefits of a subscription business model. I chose this article today because we have a subscription expert on the show today. Can't wait to hear his take on it. And as the article starts out, the subscription economy has rapidly taken off over the past decade, growing over 435% over the last 9 years. The advantages of the subscription model for businesses and customers alike, with an emphasis on building long-term relationships between vendor and client. If you're on the fence about subscription models, here the article gives 5 clear benefits to consider, and we'll touch on a few before bringing on back Matthew. We have predictable recurring revenue, which we already touched on. Easy entry points. Enhanced marketing opportunities, better cash flow management, and scalability for growth. I'm going to start right here at scalability for growth. There's a high level of flexibility inherent to the subscription business model. As you start your business, you might focus all of your effort on one product or service. Yet, as your context and cash flow grow, subscription models are easy to scale up. You can play around with different pricing tiers, levels of service, and with a month-to-month subscription, businesses can scale up or down to suit the client's needs. I love that. Now we're going to touch on better cash flow management. Along with the predictability of recurring revenue comes cash flow stability. It's easier to set up automatic recurring payments. Go Cardless integrates with major accounting software like Xero and Salesforce to facilitate recurring payments, making it easy to ensure regular, timely, and predictable cash flow. With a blend of customer engagement and reduction in late payments, you'll be presented with the opportunities for growth that enhanced cash flow can provide. I love that. As we already talked about some of these, the marketing efforts and predictable recurring revenue, I want to bring back our expert back on the show. Matthew, what can you offer our listeners?
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand there's kind of 2 main aspects of a subscription program, right? There's the customer overall experience, like if they're buying pet food, they want to help their dog be healthy, right? Or if they're supplement, they're trying to lose weight or put on muscle or something. like that. But then there's also the operational consideration that goes in a subscription. And this is the fact that somebody has to give you their payment information, that there's an email or a notification coming that an order is going to get shipped to them. So I think there's two aspects of any great subscription program. It's making it operational really, really efficient. So you're mentioning and touching on this ability to like go cardless. The ability to make that, reduce that as a friction point is a means of making your subscription process work a lot easier, work more efficiently. The ability to predict when cards are going to expire, right? That's a really common issue. A lot of people actually churn on subscriptions because their credit card expired. So that's actually an issue that you want to address from an operational standpoint, because it's really hard to scale when you're losing 5% of your customer base every couple of months because of a credit card expiring. So I think you want to try to like figure out some of those operational iterations, and they're much matter of fact of how you want to try to present your brand to that end consumer. And then ultimately, when you're talking about opportunities for enhanced marketing opportunities, the benefits of subscription for your customers, you really want to get into that other aspect, which is the benefit, right? So if we're talking about weight loss supplements, right, or working out supplements, can I get more data around why customers want the subscription, what they're getting from the product, what they're trying to achieve with the product? Because if I can get information, I can make a subscription program that's a little more engaging, a little more valuable, but stickier. And I can also upsell stuff, right? So if somebody's doing weight loss, but now they decide they want to go train for a marathon because they've lost a bunch of weight and they're feeling really healthy. Well, now I can sell them running supplements, stuff to make their legs, help with their legs and their recovery and things like that. So that's really what you should be thinking about the subscription program is: what are people trying to solve? What's the benefit? And then the operational stuff is what is getting in the way of that happening? Are they getting too much product? Well, their frequency, they're ending up with a bunch of tubs of whey protein because they're not taking it as often. That needs to be managed from a messaging side and an expectation side, right? And then there's the operational pieces that you kind of mentioned on with that article too.
Incredible advice there. Thank you for that. Those are things that I wouldn't even have thought of. Okay, I have had my credit card expire and I've lost out on a subscription to HBO, Xbox, something, right?
Right.
Now we're finding ways to prevent that, because if you're aggregating that on a yearly scale, like you said, 5% of your business, all of a sudden it's real dollars and cents that can make a difference to your business, and putting that money back into your business to help you grow. Matthew, lights out analysis on that article. Thank you very much for that. But now we're going back to all things you. Let's help out our listeners one more time. If you could recommend one app, book, tool, workshop, anything to our community of entrepreneurs to help them grow, what can you recommend?
I would highly, highly recommend the book, The One Thing by Carrie Keller. It's a book about finding focus, not just in your business, but in your personal life. It's about priorities. This idea that we have where we tell ourselves that we are all these things. They're actually illusions. They're not sustainable. So if you can find what you actually need to focus on, what's important, you will naturally stop doing all of the things that won't actually drive your business.
And that is an ongoing battle, I feel, for entrepreneurs, that battling of prioritizing what goes next. Definitely everyone tuning in today can resonate with that. But before we sign off and find out where to find all things Matthew, all things Q Pilot, my favorite question is here: which entrepreneur are you choosing to sit down throughout history, dead or alive?
There's so many great ones out there, but honestly, the one that's been top of mind for me a lot lately is actually Russell Brunson with ClickFunnels. They just know how to sell, I think, about as well, if not better than just about anybody out there. And even with SaaS, I sell SaaS software. That's my day job. And so you don't normally think of SaaS software being a ClickFunnels type of thing, but realistically, finding where people are, how to engage with them, and how to offer value and push them to the next step in the buyer journey, I think is just really, really powerful from a psychology, marketing, and sales standpoint. So yeah, I'd love to pick his brain on some of the stuff that I'm doing.
Well, I can't argue with that selection, but let's delve a bit deeper. Where is this meeting going down if you have the opportunity to choose that as well?
I'd love to get him in an office space with a big whiteboard, so we could talk through some ideas. And so yeah, here in Salt Lake, there's some beautiful stuff. We could, there's a lot of great food spots going on too. But yeah, I would love to be able to have an opportunity to workshop with them. That would be really, really cool.
Love the whiteboard shout out, as I have my whiteboard next to me that I live and die on. I have to see the big picture for the week. It's just something that works for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but it helps me stay a bit more focused, less stressed, because I know when and how things need to happen. But thank you, Matthew, for reaching out to join this community of entrepreneurs. I'm glad we were able to travel all the way to Salt Lake to bring his testimonial to the show. Now, where can everybody find more on QPilot again, and you as well?
Yeah, please check us out on qpilot.com. And I've got a weekly newsletter where I talk all these subscriptions. The best place to find us actually just connecting with me on LinkedIn, Matthew Holman at QPilot.
You're a much better man than me.
Love chatting with anybody.
Yeah. I have a newsletter that goes out. I think I've done 9 or 10 of them. But I can't do weekly. I give you a lot of credit for that. That is, I know how much work goes into those newsletters. So thank you for that. Everyone, be sure to scroll down in the episode description. You're able to find out how to subscribe to that and so much more. And I am at Vincent A. Lancey on all YouTube and social media. There will be some behind the scenes video clips from this podcast. So stay tuned for that. Be sure to hashtag That Entrepreneur Show and at That Entrepreneur Show on all social media. And until next Friday, Matthew, we are signing off. Thank you for tuning in today.
Thank you, Vincent. It's great.